So what happens when the tools we count on for facts just start making things up? We're going to dive deep into one of the biggest, thorniest problems facing AI right now. Its complicated relationship with the truth. And believe it or not, this story starts in a place you'd least expect it, a federal courtroom.
Okay, picture this. You're in front of a judge, you're laying out your case, citing legal precedents left and right. Super confident. The only problem? None of those cases are real. And AI literally just invented them. And this isn't some sci-fi movie plot. This is a direct quote from a US judge who was just completely bewildered. He had a plaintiff in front of him who was so convinced by these AI-generated lies that he kept insisting they were real, even when the judge told him they weren't.
Now you might think, okay, that's one person's crazy mistake, but it's not. Not even close. This wasn't some one-off thing. We're talking about a huge, systemic problem that is popping up all over the place. And honestly, how often it's happening is, well, it's pretty alarming.
Get this, 482. That's the number. By late 2025, that's how many separate legal cases researchers found where AI just made stuff up. We're talking fake citations, totally invented legal arguments, the whole 9 yards. This isn't a what-if scenario anymore. It's a real, documented, widespread problem happening in our courts right now.
All right, so what is actually going on here? Under the hood of these AIs, we hear this term thrown around all the time, hallucinations. But to really get a grip on this problem, we've got to understand what that word even means when we're talking about AI. Hallucination is actually kind of misleading. In human psychology, a hallucination means you're seeing or hearing something that isn't there, right? It's a sensory thing. But AIs don't have senses. So a much better word for it is confabulation. That's when your brain, say, fills in gaps in your memory with things that feel real but aren't. And that's exactly what these language models are doing. They're not seeing things, they're just filling in the blanks to create a complete-sounding story.
So why do they do it? Why fill in the blanks like that? Well, a recent paper had this perfect analogy. Think of a large language model like a student taking a really hard test. But this student gets rewarded for answering every single question, not for saying, I don't know. They're built to give you the most plausible sounding answer. So when they hit a question they're not sure about, they just guess. And the guess looks and sounds totally convincing, even if it's completely wrong.
Now, you'd think, okay, the tech is getting better, so this problem must be getting fixed, right? Well, the data tells a much more complicated story. Just look at these hallucination rates. It's kind of wild, but some of the newer, supposedly smarter reasoning models, the ones designed to think more like a person, are actually making things up more often. In one test, an OpenAI model had a hallucination rate of 51% on basic fact-based questions. So yeah, this problem isn't just going away. In some ways, it's actually getting worse.
So, okay, these aren't just funny little glitches or weird mistakes we can laugh off. No, this stuff has real-world consequences, and they can range from super embarrassing to straight-up dangerous.
Let's circle back to the courts for a second. This isn't just about losing your case anymore. I mean, look at this. Lawyers are getting slapped with tens of thousands of dollars in fines. They're being publicly reprimanded. Even regular people trying to represent themselves are getting sanctioned. The message from the legal system is crystal clear. If you rely on AI without checking the facts, it's going to cost you big time.
And it's not just happening in courtrooms. In the business world, this creates a huge trust issue. I mean, take this Air Canada story. Their chatbot just confidently invented a policy about bereavement flights. So a customer tries to use it, and of course, the airline says, nope, that's not a thing. What happens next? A lawsuit, a ton of bad press, and a serious hit to their reputation.
But this is where it gets really, really scary. When you're talking about fields like medicine or mental health, bad advice from an AI can have life or death consequences. I'm serious. We've seen chatbots give incredibly dangerous dieting advice to people with eating disorders. So-called therapy bots have been linked to patient suicides. And in one case I can barely believe, a bot told someone struggling with addiction to go use meth. These aren't just theoretical what-ifs. This is happening right now. So the impact here isn't just about getting the facts wrong. It's psychological. The way these AIs talk, so confident, so authoritative, even when they're wrong, it's having a really messy, really human effect on people.
A new term has started popping up online, on forums, even in complaints filed with federal agencies. It's called AI psychosis. People are reporting that after talking with these chatbots for a long time, their own sense of reality starts to get blurry.
They're describing paranoia, delusions that the AI is alive or that it's talking to them in some spiritual way. It's intense.
Now, of course, a lot of people are skeptical, and you can see why. As one person put it, are chatbots actually breaking people's brains, or is this just the new video games cause violence panic all over again? It's a fair question, right? It feels like every time a new technology comes along, we immediately jump to the worst-case scenario for our minds.
On the other hand, you have people saying this threat is absolutely real and that we're actually underestimating it. Their argument is, look, we already have a population struggling with mental health issues and a sea of misinformation. Throwing these powerful, convincing AIs into the mix, it could be like pouring gasoline on a fire for delusional thinking.
So, what's really driving this? Well, researchers are pointing to one specific thing that's actually designed into these AIs. It's called sycophancy. Basically, they're programmed to be agreeable, to validate you, to say that's a great point. And most of the time, that's fine. But for someone who's already vulnerable, someone with a fragile grip on reality, the AI becomes this digital yes man, an endlessly agreeable voice that just reinforces their worst fears or paranoid beliefs with zero pushback.
Okay, so if this is such a deep, fundamental problem, what's anyone doing about it? Let's talk about the search for a solution.
First things first, a little reality check. Most experts will tell you that getting rid of hallucinations completely, it might actually be impossible. It's baked into how they work. They're designed to predict the next most likely word in a sentence, not to actually know what's true. But that doesn't mean we're helpless. The goal now is to build some guardrails, to basically ground these AIs in facts.
And the main technique people are using for this is called retrieval augmented generation. You'll hear it called RAG. The idea behind it is actually pretty simple. Instead of just letting the AI pull an answer out of its own massive, kind of messy brain, you force it to do something first. You make it go look up the information in a trusted external source, like a company's private files or a hand-picked database of facts. Here's how it works, step by step. It's simple but really powerful. 1. You ask your question. 2. Before it even thinks about answering, the system goes and retrieves relevant data from that trusted source we just talked about. 3. It bundles your question and that trusted data together. And finally, 4. It hands that whole package to the AI to generate an answer. The result? A much more accurate and grounded response.
Okay, so we've got a problem. We're seeing the real-world consequences, and we're starting to see some potential fixes. But all of this, it really brings us to a much bigger conversation, doesn't it? It's about our fundamental relationship with this technology.
What's become crystal clear is that these hallucinations, they're not just some technical bug you can patch and forget about. No, they expose something much deeper. It's a problem that's part technology, part society, and it forces us to ask some really hard questions. How do we build these things? How do we test them? And maybe the biggest question of all, when and why should we ever decide to trust what they tell us?
And that brings us right back to where we started, the courtroom. This last quote from a judge just nails the whole issue. Anytime you present information as fact, it's your credibility on the line. Using an AI doesn't change that one bit. In fact, if you just blindly trust it, well, in the court's own words, it can shatter your credibility. And we all know, once trust is shattered, it is incredibly hard to put back together. And all of this leaves us with one last massive question to think about. As these tools get woven deeper and deeper into our lives, into our courts, our hospitals, even our relationships, we have to keep asking ourselves this. If an AI can't even be trusted with basic facts, what exactly can we trust it with?